welcome to another booktube video from me, Lauren, from Lauren and the Books. I hope you're all doing very well. Today's video, it's a library book haul. I've been thinking about my relationship with the library, and I feel like I barely do any browsing at the library anymore. I'm very much using it as a sort of tool to request books that I've seen on YouTube. So when I watch YouTube, I often have my library tab open as well, and I'm like, oh yeah, I'll request that. Oh yeah, I'll request that. I am a member of 2 libraries, if this is all, if you've heard this before, because I feel like I go on about it all the time, just ignore me. I'm a member of 2 libraries. I live sort of on a county lines, so I'm a member of 2 libraries, one of which the reservations are free, hurrah, one of which the reservations are £1. Still hurrah, but obviously don't want to be spending loads of money reserving books which I'm not getting around to reading, because that's just my relationship with the library. Pick stuff up, don't read them, take them back after 3 weeks. So I'll start with the ones where I've got from my library where I had to put a reservation on and pay £1, because that will mean that I really needed them. So first of all, go to the library where the reservations are free. Let's have a look. The range is still great, but not as good as the library where I have to pay for reservations. First one that I picked up, put a reservation on, was The Disaster Tourist by Jung Ko-eun. Now, I can't remember, I've got loads of eyeliner all over that finger. I can't remember who has spoken about these. As I've said, a lot of them have been because I've been watching YouTube. But yeah, so this is, I think it's translated. Let's find out. Translated by Lizzie Boiler, and it says, when catastrophe strikes, who can resist looking at the wreckage? Yona is nearing burnout working for Jungle, a sinister seal-based company that specialises in tours to ecological disaster zones. When one of the, I don't think I've ever said ecological before, I think I normally say ecological. When one of Yona's bosses sexually harasses her, the company tries to bribe her with a free tour to Mui, an island off the coast of Vietnam known for its giant sinkhole. But she becomes trapped on the island and stumbles upon a discovery that puts her in grave danger. This is a blackly comic caper with real satirical bite. The Disaster Tourist revels in the absurdity of modern life. It's both slickly contemporary and slyly surreal. So yeah, it sounds great. Also, really short little thing. So that does sound really good, doesn't it? 185 pages, so hopefully we'll get to that. Now this next one, again, I can't remember who was talking about it. This is True Biz by Sarah Novick. It says here, author, oh, so she's the author of Girl at War, and which was longlisted for the Women's Prize. I don't know when it was longlisted for the Women's Prize, because I feel like I've tried to read the Women's Prize the past few years and the long list and haven't got through to it. Anyway, what led me to this is that there's a lot in here about sign language, and there's different pictures and stuff in here about how to do the sign language. So I don't know how this, like, this sounds very amazing. I mean, some of the words that are cheeky. But yeah, I don't know anything about that apart from the person who was talking about it said that, and I was like, that sounds fantastic. So it's set at a River Valley school for the deaf. And these students, they just want to hook up, pass their history finals, and have politicians, doctors and their parents stop telling them what to do with their bodies. This revelatory novel plunges readers into the halls of a residential school for the deaf, where they'll meet Charlie, a rebellious transfer student who's never met another deaf person before, Austin, the school's golden boy, whose world is rocked when his baby sister is born hearing, and February, the headmistress, who is fighting to keep her school open and her marriage intact, but might not be able to do both. As a series of crises, both personal and political, threaten to unravel each of them, Charlie, Austin and February find their lives inextricably from one another and change forever. It's the story of sign language and lip reading, disability and civil rights, isolation and injustice, first love and love, and above all, great persistence, daring and joy. Absorbing and assured, idiosyncratic and relatable. It's an unforgettable journey into the deaf community and a universal celebration of human connection. Sounds fucking brilliant. That's coming out. I'm gonna read that soon. And then I've got Metronome by Tom Watson, and I remember where I heard this because this sticker has reminded me. I watched the programme between the covers on BBC Two, which is Sarah Cox hosting I think it's finished now, actually. I normally catch it on iPlayer, so I don't know when it's actually out. But her talking to a group of celebrities about their favourite books, and every series they have like a collection of books that they read and talk about. And one of them was this, Metronome by Tom Watson. A book by a man, you say, on this channel? Who would have thought it? So I remember hearing about it, and I remember thinking that sounded great, and I remember having put the reservation on this like months and months ago, and it's only just come in. For 12 years, Aina and Whitney have been in exile on an island for a crime they committed together. Tethered to a cross by pills they must take for survival every 8 hours. They've kept busy. Aina with her garden, her jigsaw, her music, why can't I read these words? Whitney with his sculptures and maps, but something is not right. Shipwrecks have begun washing up and their supply drops have stopped. And on the day they're meant to be collected for parole, the warden does not come. Instead, there's a sheep, but sheep can't swim. As days pass, Aina begins to suspect that their prison is part of a peninsula and that Whitney has been keeping secrets. And if he's been keeping secrets, maybe she should too. Convinced they've been abandoned, she starts investigating ways she might escape. As she comes to grips with the decisions that haunt her past, she realises her biggest choice is yet to come. So yeah, that sounds great as well, doesn't it? Love a book set on an island. And then when I was picking those two up, there was just these two which were which I saw on the shelves. Well, mainly this. I thought the front cover was absolutely beautiful, but I feel like I've heard someone talk about that as well. That's The Saint of Lost Things by Tish Delaney. There was a time when Lindy Morris escaped to London and walked along the Thames in the moonlight, when life was full and exciting. Decades later, Lindy lives back with her Auntie Belle on the edge of Donegal and on the edge of Grandad Morris's land. Grandad Morris is a complicated man, a farmer who wanted sons but got two daughters, Auntie Belle and Lindy's mother, who disappeared long ago. Now Lindy and Belle live in the smallest lives in a cottage full of unfulfilled dreams, but when the secrets they have get for 30 years emerge, everything is rewritten. Will Lindy grasp who she is again? So yeah, drawn in by the cover. Thought the plot sounds bloody brilliant. And then this one, The Last Story of Mina Lee by Nancy Yuyan Kim. This is on Reese Witherspoon's book club. Since I've got this out, I realise it's got four reservations on it, so they probably shouldn't have given it to me, but they did. This is in 1987, and Mina Lee flies from Seoul to Los Angeles to start a new life, and 30 years later, Margot Lee speaks to her mother for the last time. Between these two moments extends a lifetime of secrets, which I love, unfolding of a sort of lifetime. These are stories of unexpected loves and devastating losses, of choices made and those left behind, of mother and daughter who have always struggled to understand each other. These are stories waiting to be told before it's too late. Sounds great, doesn't it? So that's from one library. The next one's from another library. Again, all of these reservations. Look at this bag I've got, by the way. One of my lovely viewers made it because it's me. There I am with my lovely round face. This is one I picked up. I've been seeing this everywhere because it's a beautiful front cover, and when I was standing to pick up this bag of reservations in the queue, this was on the new books, and I was like, oh, I've seen that cover around a few times, and I picked it up and opened it to look at it, and the first sentence I was like, David will love this. 2 kids meet in a hospital gaming room in 1987. I was like, David's gonna love this. So one is visiting her sister, the other is recovering from a car crash. The days and months are long there. Their love of video games becomes a shared world of joy, escape and fierce competition, but it's all too soon. That time is over, fades from view. When the pair spot each other 8 years later in a crowded train station, they're catapulted back to that moment. The spark is immediate, and together they get to work on what they love. Making games to delight, challenge and immerse players, finding an intimacy in digital worlds that eludes them in their real lives. Their collaborations make them superstars. This is the story of the perfect world Sadie and Sam build, the imperfect world they live in, and everything that comes after after success: money, fame, duplicity and tragedy. So yeah, it's set in 1980s. David's gonna love it anyway. About computer games, David's gonna love it. He really liked Ready Player One, which sounds a little bit like this in terms of like an immersive computer world. And there was another book he read a couple of years ago which he absolutely loved, and that's set in the 80s. I can't think what it's called. Fortress of something? Impossible Fortress, maybe? And I thought it sounded like that too. But when I brought it back to him and I showed him that, he said, oh my God, that first line sounds amazing. So, yeah, great. So hopefully he'll read that. I mean, he's only got 3 weeks, and normally it takes him a little bit longer than 3 weeks to read a book, but we'll give it a go. These are all my bookmarks when I say 4. I've got 4. Every time I go in, they're like, oh great, more reservations that you're probably not going to read. So here we go. Sam Selvin, The Lonely Londoners. This is at Waterloo Station. Hopeful new arrivals from the West Indies step off the boat train, ready to start afresh in 1950s London. Their homesick Moses Aliotta, who's already lived in the city for years, meets Henry Sir Galahad Oliver and shows him the ropes. In this strange, cold and foggy city where the natives can be less than friendly at the sight of a blackface, has Galahad met his Waterloo. But the irrepressible newcomer cannot be cast down. He and all the other lonely new Londoners, from Shifless Cap to Tolroy, whose family has descended on him from Jamaica, must try to create a new life for themselves. As pessimistic old veteran Moses watches their attempts, they gradually learn to survive and come to love the heady excitements of London. That sounds bloody great as well. I sort of want to put that on my TBR for the month as well. I'm going to. This one I've got out before. I put a reservation on it and then I just renewed it and then had to give it back. But luckily there was no more reservations on it, so I could return it and get it back out again. Does anybody else do that? And that's I Belong Here, A Journey Along the Backbone of Britain. So this is nature writing from Anita Setti. I very love nature writing, and I read an essay of Anita's in, I can't remember what collection it was, but it was talking, oh, I think was it one of those? It was talking about her and her mother going on holiday to the Lake District, I think, and I was like, that sounds amazing. And when you read nature writing, a lot of nature writing is written by white male authors. There are more nature writing by white female authors than there are female authors of colour, but I found this and wanted to read this very much, so I will also get around to that as well. Nature writing, lovely. I remember seeing this on Aoife's channel, Leonard and Hungry Paul by Ronan Hessian. She said she read it really quickly and it was a wonderful little joy to her. If I don't read this time, I think I'll get this back out next year and read it for the Irish Readathon. This is Leonard and Hungry Paul are two quiet friends who see the world differently. They use humour, board games and silence to steer their way through the maelstrom that is the 21st century. It's the story of two friends trying to find their place in the world. It's about those uncelebrated people who have the ability to change the world, not by effort or force, but through their appreciation of all that is special and overlooked in life. And this is published by Blue Moose Books, which is an independent publisher, so nice. Then I've got Animal by Lisa Taddeo, who was the author of Three Girls, which was a non-fiction book, and this is now a novel of hers. I meant to read this when it first came out. It's in paperback now, so it must have been out a few years. Joan knows more than most of the price of pleasure, the horror of being a woman at the mercy of a man. Reeling from the public suicide of her former lover, she abandons her New York apartment and drives west for California in search of the one person who might help her unravel the brutal mysteries of her past. I imagine if the writing's like the non-fiction book, it's going to be sort of like dark and, let's say it, delicious. Then I've got The Man Who Didn't Call by Rosie Walsh. Has Rosie Walsh got a YouTube channel? Is that where I've seen her? If this is the book that I think it is, I think I've seen her featuring on someone else's YouTube channel recently and then saw that she wrote books and I was like, oh, I'll get out some of the books. Another Irish author. Imagine you meet a man, spend 7 glorious days together and fall in love, and it's mutual. You've never been so certain of anything. So when he leaves for a long booked holiday and promises to call from the airport, you have no cause to doubt him, but he doesn't call. Your friends tell you to forget him, but you know they're wrong. Something must have happened. There must be a reason for this silence. What do you do when you're finally discovered you're right? That there is a reason, and that the reason is one thing you didn't share with each other, the truth. Sounds good, bit sort of like that ghosting, enjoyable. The Offing by Benjamin Myers, another one that was on the book club, oh no, this is Radio 2 book club, so where did I hear about this? I can't be sure. One summer following the Second World War, Robert Appleyard sets out on foot from his Durham village. 16 and the son of a coal miner, he makes his way across the northern countryside until he reaches the former smuggling village of Robin Hood's Bay. There he meets Dulcie, an eccentric and otherworldly older woman who lives in a ramshackle cottage facing the sea. Staying with Dulcie, Robert's life opens in one of rich food, sea swimming, sunburn and poetry. The two come from different worlds, yet as the summer months pass, they form an unlikely friendship that will profoundly alter their futures. That sounds lovely as well, doesn't it? There we go. Then I've got The Mixed Race Experience by Naomi and Natalie Evans, which is reflections and revelations on multicultural identity. This is from the founders of the Instagram account Everyday Racism. Yeah, I think this sounds really interesting. It's a non-fiction book, and it says Naomi and Natalie Evans, founders of the anti-racist advocacy and platform Everyday Racism, explore the complexities of mixed race identities, from the discrimination endured by the 1.2 million mixed race people in Britain and millions more elsewhere to the privileges it can afford. Sharing their own personal experiences of growing up in Britain to illuminate the nuances of racial identity, the book also weaves in interviews with people from mixed race backgrounds and in mixed relationships, research to dispel common myths and stereotypes, and practical advice for mixed race families and friendships. So yeah, very much looking forward to reading this. I think it'll be very valuable. Also, I'm just so pleased that there's seems to be more and more books about the black experience, or in this case the mixed race experience, from a point of view from someone living in the UK, because previously when I've looked for this sort of stuff, I've found lots and lots of stuff based in the US but not so much in the UK, so pleased that this is here, so I will get around to reading that as well. Then I've got Hold Back the Tide by Melissa Salisbury. By the way, I would say sorry for reading out the blurbs, but I do like hearing people reading out the blurbs, so like, maybe it would be better if I was to sort of like look at these beforehand and say, oh, I think this is what this is about. But if I'm reading out the blurbs, I'm sort of discovering with you, which I quite like, so I hope that's okay with all you lot. This is YA book. I remember that. I remember the front cover thinking this is YA book. I think I got this from Sana's channel. I think it was a recommendation from Sana's channel. Here are the rules of living with a murderer. Everyone in Ormskula knows what happened to Alva Douglas's mother all those years ago. It's why Alva can't wait to leave. But when the dark forces begin to stir in the surrounding mountains, Alva has to face a very different future to the one she's been dreaming of and questions everything she thought she knew about her past. This is a chilling tale about the dire costs of secrecy and greed. Hold back, the tide will sink its teeth into you and never let go. Interesting. Interesting. Then I've got Lily by Rose Tremaine. I am still yet to read any books by Rose Tremaine, and I know Rose Tremaine is dearly beloved and a wonderful author from what I've heard from people. This is set in London in 1850, and on a freezing winter's night, a baby is abandoned at the gates of a park only to be saved by a young policeman and taken to the Foundling Hospital. After suffering years of brutal hardship at the hospital, Lily is released into the world of Victorian London, but she is hiding a dreadful secret. When Lily and the policeman meet again, Lily is convinced that he holds the key to her happiness, but might he also be the one to uncover her crime and so condemn her to her death? Yeah, this doesn't sound like other Rose Tremaine stuff that I've read blurbs of, because I'm sure I've got books out from the library from her all the time, and I feel like normally she writes about more sort of like modern stuff, so Victorian stuff. Then I've got Book Lovers by Emily Henry, which I also do have out on audiobook from Libby at the moment as well, so I imagine I'll get around to one of those. And this is a sort of romance book, which I don't often read, but I've heard quite good things, and I really like this cover. One summer, two rivals, a plot twist they didn't see coming. Nora is a cutthroat literary agent at the top of her game. Her whole life is books. Charlie is an editor with a gift for creating bestsellers, and he's Nora's work nemesis. Nora has been through enough breakups to know that she's the one men date before finding their happily ever after. To prevent another dating dud, Nora's sister persuades her to swap her city desk for a month's holiday in Sunshine Falls. It's a small town straight out of a romance novel, but instead of meeting sexy lumberjacks, handsome doctors and cute bartenders, Nora keeps bumping into ... Charlie. I don't know where this is set. I don't know if this is UK based or not. Who knows? But yeah, romance set in publishing, we'll give it a good go. And then the last one I've got, and I remember hearing about this on Mercedes' channel, is Nobody's Victim, Fighting Psycho, Stalkers, Pervs and Trolls by Carrie Goldberg. So this is this Nobody's Victim invites readers to join Carrie Goldberg on the front line of the war against sexual violence and privacy violations as her law firm sues the hell out of tech companies, schools and sexual predators. Her battleground is the courtroom. Her crusade is to transform clients from victims into warriors. In gripping detail, Carrie shares the diabolical ways her clients are attacked and how she, through her unique combination of relentless advocacy, badass risk-taking and unique client empowerment, pursues justice for them all. There is the ex-boyfriend who made a fake bomb threat in a client's name, causing a national panic, the girl who was sexually assaulted on school grounds and then suspended when she reported the attack, and the guy who used a dating app to send more than 1,200 men to his ex's home and office for sex. Carrie also shares her own shattering story about why she began her work and became the lawyer she needed. Sounds amazing, doesn't it? So there we go. Loads of bloody brilliant books to be getting on with. I'm going to go and put that on David's bedside table now. He hasn't got a book on the go at the moment, so we could get going with that straight away. And yeah, I'm going to stick these two on my TBR for the month. Let me know if you've been using your library recently. Let me know if you've read any of these books, and I'll see you all again soon for another book video.